life, which we come back to. And we started with audio in our good old days whenever the communication bit started. The first bit was obviously the awareness part. So when it was awareness, we were more on the static part. We'll go do writings on the wall, or you find Ashoka Lake, or drawings, and then wall paintings and stuff like that. And then we slowly moved on to voice. Uh, Scientifically, it is said that you can recall voice much better than pictures. So there was one exercise which we had done with one of the professors who had come to teach us the value of voice. And he said, think of a song which you know. Now hum it in your mind. Now start putting the visuals according to the film in the same order. You could sing the song, but you could not put the visuals. And that's how we evolved even in rural. And when rural started, there used to be one company called Video on Wheels from Jan Studios, Delhi, whose mandate was to take offline television into villages, because the entire thing was we were not reaching there. And from there we have reached where not now, where YouTube is the biggest search engine. And again, because of the voice, because they don't have to type or anything. I remain these days in village, so all they do is pick up the phone and ask, "Tala kaise khulega?" and they find 10 videos on it. So the life has come full circle. So we should be sharing with people as to what voices, good friends are here, and I shouldn't take much of time. I should be just doing Hana, and just tossing off the ball. So youngest of the end, girl first. Come on, lady, tell us. Why voice, why video, why vernacular?
So, firstly, thank you very much for having me here. Not taking much of the time. I'll see voice, video, vernacular. Like you rightly said, it's a journey which has evolved. It's a journey that we are traversing, and I think if you ask me which of one was my most favorite and which one would be the most important right now, I think I would go with how it says voice comes first, video comes next, and vernacular comes the third. But I say it's vernacular first, video then, and then voice. Vernacular is extremely important. There's been a 53% surge in the voice search from rural particularly. And it shows that how the rural consumer is also, the thinking is also changing. It's not just limited to going on YouTube, watching some entertainment movies, gaane sunne jana hai. But now it has become an information center for the rural audience. And when I say that, I do not only talk about the younger generation, I'm also talking about farmers. Because we've seen, while we have Shah Rukh Khan as an influencer in urban, we have somebody called as farmer, Mr. Farmer in rural, who has more than 15 million followers, and there are I don't know how many 1,000 live people go every day to him just to see how he's doing farming, what are the new techniques, how the entire the structure of farming is changing in rural. So I think I think vernacular being my favorite. The takeaway would be, it's not only entertainment anymore. It is much more than entertainment. It's knowledge. People are hungry, and the consumer has grown. The behavior of the consumer has become better, and it's getting sophisticated by time. That's my...
Hold your thought. Shubho, you and I have been sailing in this world of little bit of political communication also, which is also a large part rural. And over the ages, we have seen our leaders, whenever they go to the field, the first few lines they try and use it in vernacular, either Bhojpuri or Tamil. Right from Mrs. Gandhi days, we've been hearing that. So it does make an impact when you talk to them in their own language, even if it is little crooked. I mean, even if it is real weird. But you make the first contact. What's your view on that vernacular part? Especially, this came to my mind when Mithunda recently joined BJP, and he said one line, which is a very colloquial street line. Mere debo chhavi kore debo. But I'll hit you and make you into a photograph. This is a very, very street kind of a line, which a Bhadro Bengali would speak otherwise. But
and then Didi came up with Khel Hobo.
Khala hobe.
Khela hobe.
So, Shubho, what is your take on these vernacular ones?
Yes, absolutely. I was also listening to Jankana, and I completely agree. Vernacular is the new mainstream. I mean, as you know, I am associated with MyGov, the government's, social citizen engagement thing. And this is the common thing that we hear. Why are you guys only doing this in English and Hindi? You think other languages, other regions, other states don't exist? Over the last 2 years, I've been hearing that voice become louder and louder. So people in Assam are saying, hey, listen, please, get your act together and tell us what's happening in Assamese. It's up to you to learn our language, figure out some technology, AI or whatever you call it, and speak to us in Assamese, in Gujarati, in Marathi, or whatever it is. Otherwise, we're going to start blocking you out. So, to be honest, we are in we've taken this very, very seriously, and we're looking at, in fact, we are looking at we've got onto a lot of regional apps, Indian apps that are very popular in regional areas like Roposo, ShareChat, Shingari, Ku, etc. And their USP is they're very strong in regional areas. Okay, so one could even say that we are on Facebook and Twitter and everything else, but we are paying a lot of very close attention to these regional apps because they're so strong in regional audiences. So I completely agree with you. If you're not regional, if I may use that word, you're not in the game. Cholbe na, to use back to
Yeah.
the Bengali, right?
Amit, you and I come from an era when we used to have lots of flip charts. Like I would have written 16 flip charts just on diarrhea. And diarrhea is the same thing. And then we finally made it into video. Obviously, so that we could idiot-proof the communication part. So the guy who used to go and read every day 20 times could not add something from his own pocket or should not forget something. But these videos have also started playing a new role in the new world of WhatsApp and YouTubes and stuff. What's your experience on that new format now?
No, you're very right. I think thanks to technology and how it is evolving very fast, videos are becoming the in thing when we talk about rural communication, and it is rightfully so as well. And you very rightly mentioned that there was a time when ads were created in Hindi and got adapted into multiple languages, and then they were thrown across. But today you realize a lot of content creation is happening locally, and that content is now being picked up by the brands as well. They're also realizing there is no point creating one 30 or 45 seconder and then pushing it across all the markets. There is a requirement and there is a need to make it very, very regional. That's one. The other part, of course, is also the fact because now you have phones, and that is a huge power in the customer's hand. I mean, he is now creating videos. I mean, you look at a TikTok got banned, and you have a Takatak, which has roughly about 45 plus million users in rural, India. And what are they doing with that? They're creating videos. They're creating content which is interesting, which is interactive. Some of those videos are becoming huge viral as well. Yeah. So I think somewhere uh, the whole process, which we used to think would be top down, as to somebody will think of a technology sitting at the top level and then it will percolate down, has actually got reversed. It's actually now happening bottoms up. People have the power in their hand and they know how to use it, and then they are using it for the right requirement. And that is really what the interesting and the challenging times of today is, how to manage this kind of a challenge, or this kind of it's actually challenge because you don't know what is going to get created at the ground level. I mean, somebody in in our neighboring country created this famous video of ye hum hai aur ye hamare dost hain aur party ho rahi hai, and look at the kind of videos that has been created. I saw the other day somebody in Andhra Pradesh, very remote pocket of Andhra, uh, created a similar kind of a video in their own local language, sitting in a well, and they were like 14, 15-year-old, kids, and it was floating around. So that's
Okay,
really the
if that is so, Jankana, where are brands? Why brands are not creating such videos? Why they are not on those vernaculars, videos, voices? I don't see any of the brands coming out and doing that kind of a number. When you know for a fact that every household has a smartphone, or so-called smartphone. One each has. I don't go by statistics. They may have a functional phone, but if there is a 18, 19-year-old guy, he has a smartphone. But we don't see brands there. I mean, I stay in village and I keep checking this. We know the popularity of all the videos which are getting. Say for voice. Now we have agreed that voice, vernacular videos, somewhere we can collaborate and put. Like we have FM radios all across, which can talk to them in their vernacular. But do we get brief where brands are saying, okay, take me to the radio? Because why still we are in their mindset कि एक van and a man machine होगी और हम चल देंगे? Any thoughts on?
So I'll start. My limited, to my limited knowledge, I'd say that brands are fairly there. They want to get there, but I think they don't today also, because see, big brands would not, we understand that they would not enter a market without the proper research or without proper understanding of a territory, etc. Plus the behavior of mobile usage is very different from state to state. So I think cost of reach is also what plays a part here. While we can reach out to radio, yes, we can, we should, we do. And I mean, if I remember correctly, Kankhajura worked really brilliantly, right? But then it just phased, and I think that is what happens when technology comes in. People are getting more educated. They want to, they have the hunger to have more. And I think brands want to get there, but it's actually our responsibility as marketeers, at the new age marketeers who have, who've seen this transition. I call myself very lucky. I've seen the transition in the last 10 years from van to man ka drastic change bahut samne dekh liya. So I think clients want to get there. We just need to make it in our, we have to keep this as our priority, that we take these solutions to the market and we take these solutions to the client. And at Natter, we are trying to do so. And I hope that you see this complaint will not be there in the next session. I can say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shubho, tell me something. Is it that the fear of generating new material regularly, like if you see a TikTok, I don't know what they're called, TikTok, short videos, whatever, you find one girl having at least 1,000 videos on this song, this joke, that joke, and they are repeating, they are coming fresh every now and then, they're coming fresh. Are brands scared of putting out that kind of a communication, that they'll have to keep pumping in till they get it right? And is that they're not getting the formula?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, this question has been doing the rounds for the last 15 years or so. It all comes down to, a central command way of functioning, which brands are used to. The big brands, I've worked on Coca-Cola, etc., where, in fact, on the cola brand that I mentioned, the core creative used to come from a foreign country, Atlanta, right? Then we would adapt it, and then it would further be adapted. I mean, I think Rajji is an expert on that. He knows, the ecosystem. But what has happened because of digital is, especially with smaller brands, or you can even say localized brands, is this ecosystem has turned over on its head. So if you look at, we were discussing political parties. So if you look at the BJP or the Congress or any large mainstream party, well, there is a central command, but increasingly, I mean, these political parties have their not just state but district or even city pages on Facebook and other places. Okay, so it's from a Facebook approach, if I can use a metaphor, it's become a WhatsApp approach where everyone is, has their little communities. This was not possible even, I would say 6-7 years back. But now it's no longer Facebook way of doing things, the brand thing, the brand pyramid. which I think someone was saying, Jankana or Amit, it's become ulta, right? So the power comes from the small Facebook groups, right? So what are the political parties trying to do, if I may, repeatedly use that analogy? And I think that because they're doing a very good job, they're saying, hey, listen, it's not about my message, it's about taking my message to the smallest WhatsApp group in the smallest district of India and getting them to become brand ambassadors, getting them to, create their community, etc. So that's the way brands are moving. But I mean, if you don't mind my saying so, most brand marketing managers are people my age, right? They're in the 50s and they don't like abdicating that fancy designation and, vice president, blah, blah, blah. I can see some smiles in the room. So, that will take some time to get over. But technology is a very brutal and harsh way of, has a way of moving. It doesn't care what your designation is, right? And that is what Raji was talking about, this lady who has 50,000 videos. So that's the way it is happening. So unless brands evolve to work out their own ecosystem, their own approach, they will be in trouble. Even large brands like Fevicol or the Mahindra Group, if you saw the Thar launch a couple of days back, so they are evolving. But I would sadly say about 70 to 80% of the biggest brands in our country are struggling with this power structure, central command kind of thing. It will take them another 2 or 3 years. But if you
Amit,
look at the newer brands, if I just may take one more second, if you look at the newer brands like, Zomato and Swiggy and, so many brands which are so dependent on digital, they're moving much, much faster.
Amit, our clients are used to a 30-second or 60-second ad film, which they make it to the precision, polished, everything looks chakachak. When we are seeing in rural, they are not even bothered. Most of the films are handmade through a mobile phone. It could be shaky. It could have all kinds of voices into it, but they still drive home the point. I see farmer videos. I see videos being made by people who are into agriculture sector and others. If that is an acceptable format to people, to the consumer, why is a brand so obsessed with their own imagery that they are going to only have a polished 30-second or 40-second or a 5-minute film? I mean, are they experimenting something new? Because I've been out of touch now. You people are still in the business, so you will know. I mean, are they experimenting with newer things
Yes,
in
they
terms
are.
of video?
Uh,
Yeah, that's a
yes,
good news.
they are. They are. But that experimentation is restricted to platforms.
Okay.
So what they do is, they look at established platforms, for example, a Facebook or an Instagram, and that is where they want to go. Or then they look for platforms like, a Takatak or maybe a Chingari or something similar. And what they and the purpose really then is not to create a content for the customer or the consumer, but to get the consumer to create content at their end and make it more viable. So this is the kind of an approach that they are picking up. I would not say that everybody, but yes, there are brands who are experimenting. So they will typically think of, whenever they get down to creating their communication, they will think of that, how will this trigger a user generated content from the ground level up. And then they will think of formats, platforms, activations, or even contests to run for themselves. uh, well, that is true, or but that is happening on video. And of course, I also agree with you that this is not the phenomena that is still prevalent across. In fact, for companies whose bread and butter is rural, they are also not following a formula which should have been followed by them, good 10 years back, and they should have moved on to it. Uh, However, on voice, there is a lot of action that is happening. I mean,
Okay.
and that action is also driven by how the technology is moving forward. So, for example, Google Assistant. I mean, and we all know how diverse our country is. I mean, there's no point, repeating that. We know that we have 22 plus languages, 1,000 plus dialects, and one can go on and go, this far and more. But and that's where the voice recognition and the whole technology behind it becomes that much more challenging. But interestingly, like for example, Google today has Google Assistant available in 9 Indian languages. which is getting accessed, and it is being used by Google and also by other brands that are coming on board. And one can understand the challenge that is there on the voice. The feature phones are no longer just simple feature phones. They are now becoming more of smart feature phones, where you have a voice recognition technology to help you with not just searches but even purchases as well. So there are multiple examples. For example, Colgate has been running a successful dentist program called Pocket Dentist. I mean, there are examples of Lifebuoy. There are examples of Idea. I mean, they ran a very excellently executed format of video bot. So you had a video chatbot which was being rolled out for people to chat with one video of a celebrity on their screens. So they are experimenting. There is some action, especially on voice, and that's also because today Hindi happens to be the second biggest language on Google Assistant platform worldwide after English. There are about 400 plus million users which are accessing content on Hindi on Google Assistant. So yes, if the question is that videos are still limited, they are, but a lot of approach changes are happening. It's more of a UGC kind of formats, but largely the action is still on feature phones and on voice.
It again reminds me of a cycle seller. It's a biggest human cycle network called Hamraj Churan in rural.
Yes.
He has a Churan ka dabba, all kinds of Ayurvedic medicine, and a speaker and a small tape recorder, and they keep playing in all melas, hearts, or your societies everywhere. The same technology, starting from that grassroots, has been taken by one of our RMAI members onto the bus stands. Where you have captive audience sitting there to catch the bus, to receive somebody to go. And on all those major bus stands, they keep playing branded information. Now, I was very amused to see that it's really an innovation, and lots of brands have used it. But phenomena like that is not multiplying. It's not multiplying. When we know voice is being heard, voice is being, like, I don't know, even today, radio, which was something which is still a part of my life. But we would have radio switched on right in the morning and it will keep playing. But today it is only driving hours. That too, we are preferring our own playlist or something like that. Why are we not being able to convert these into media opportunities? I mean, why the platforms are not coming? Anyone of you can answer. Even Shubho, you can answer that. Shubho can't hear you. Unmute.
I think Jankana can take the first shot. I'll follow.
Okay.
So, sir, I would just say that digital is and has evolved too quickly. No one got the time to set the rules right. You understand? So I think that is one of the key reasons that brands are still, the aura is too tight. Brand aura is tight. So I think they take a little bit of their own sweet time. And again, I would say it is purely a responsibilities of, it is our responsibility to kind of push these mediums forward, and just ask the brands to go ahead and try out their try. I wouldn't say try, because these are all proved and proved well mediums. So to my understanding, I think it's because of the brand aura. They are too tight and they don't want to kind of go out and experiment. I think they're a little shit scared of what's going to happen, how the brand is going to perceive us. How the audience is going to perceive us. So I think that creates a little bit of an entry barrier for the client.
But biggest risk is not taking a risk.
Yeah, I
totally
agree with what Jankana said, and also, Rajji's, one-liner, bigger risk is not taking a risk. And, I see on these, digital forums like LinkedIn and other places, there are these small groups of startups. They're trying to understand how brands work. And, 2 years back, I used to think, no, this is absolutely wrong. This is not how you should build your brand, startup brand. And now I'm seeing that actually, they should just take a risk. right? I mean, in many cases, it's a low cost or zero cost kind of risk, and they should take a risk. So, you're right. Nobody really knows. It's a very dynamic kind of thing, and it's dynamic because of technology. There is no fixed technology, and anybody who thinks that technology is fixed and won't change for the next 10 years, like Twitter, for example, if I may flag, is going to come in for a hard time, which is why Twitter is struggling in India and in other geographies also, I believe, because they thought the technology would not change. But if you look at Instagram, I mean, they're so far ahead of their time. All the big brands, small brands, they're all rushing to Instagram. All that talk about, nee, you can't build a brand visually. Everyone has, stopped now. You in India, you will build a brand if you respect the local apps, the Roposos and the Chingaris and the Coos of the world that we laugh at even now. They are going to build your brand. If you're not there, you're nowhere. Facebook is not going to cut it for you beyond the point.
But I'm saying more on non-digital part also. Like we know there's a coffee network which plays the music in all over as many centers they have. But we don't see any ads in that. We know so many railway stations keeps announcing which train is going where, which is late, which is not late. But we don't see a common area where you can target your people, non-digital also. So those platforms also not taking out and there is we all have proved records that voice works, video works, vernacular works, all three works. But more and more opportunities to find out digital, non-digital, online, offline, both. Why are I mean, one thing which I can say is good old days when we were thrown into rural, we used to do pilots. We'll do a lot of pilots, make their reports, and then go and show it to the client. Like, look, this is what we've done. Interested? Let's come, invest some more money. Let's do it once again, and then that's how we'll do. Today, it seems that everybody is in a kind of a hurry. You give me the ready-to-eat kind of a masala, and I'll have it. How does one grow out of this mindset? Because there are wonder things happening. Like nobody knows what JCB means. But and I remember when JCBs came to my village to make the road, people would line up to see that machine. That seat moves, man moves, machine moves. And today it has become kind of a household name. Everybody says, "Arey, why waste so much time? JCB bula lo." So people are understanding the value, word of mouth, stuff like that, and they're using these kind of things. But on a general day-to-day basis, I am not seeing brands move there, faster, and knowing that you have a huge capacity sitting there, right from 1 rupee stuff to something which is 10 lakhs. There's potential sitting there, but we are not able to build brands and take these three pillars into our hand and say, okay, let's go and talk to our consumer. So, are there something new happening? I mean, offline. Amit, can you tell us something if there's something new happening offline, if not digital, using these three kinds of tools?
Uh, Actually, you're right. And I think my other co-panelist who also talked about it earlier in terms of the whole attitude of avoiding risks. Moment you think of a media, the first thing that you're thinking about the reach, the scale, the efficacy, the result, the ROI, and then you get into, oh, okay. I mean, there are umpteen number of examples where we go back to our clients and we talk to them and we tell them that you should experiment with this. This is something absolutely new, and it will work for sure. It gives you scale, but the first thing they want to know is there a proof of the pudding in place or not? If not, then let's think about it a little later, or let's experiment. Even that experimentation also is kind of priority too. And I think, but given the way things are moving, believe you me, this is going to change drastically. That's my assessment, and I've seen it changing. I mean, till about 3 years back, 4 years back, we used to go back to our clients and keep talking to them that we should do, a voice-enabled activation, the rural markets, and so on and so forth. Today, that conversation doesn't happen. The conversation is through voice. How can I make it happen? So obviously certain things are moving forward. I mean, today, I don't know how many of us know, but there are many geographies in the country where people are doing their m-commerce using just audio part of it. So they are only placing their order that I want to order for, let's say, baby diapers. The audio itself responds back to you, your phone, and you start talking to that, and it will place an order. If you have if you have a link or an activated, Amazon account, and you get a baby diapers delivered to your home. And of course, I'm not talking about, the remote parts of the rural areas. I'm talking about, still block level headquarters, or maybe 20,000 plus kind of towns for that matter. But if that is happening there, it is going to happen further on as well. A lot of it would also be driven by the technology usage by, the political parties as well. A lot of it actually has happened because of the way the technology was used, way back in elections in 2014, and then again a lot was done in 2014, and then again in 2019, which changed how things can be done in rural. Case studies came in, the proof of the pudding was in place, and everybody could see, oh, this is possible. I mean, there's a platform wherein, you can talk to 25,000 people simultaneously in rural India. It was done for the first time for elections, and brands also sat back and they realized, oh, this is possible, then why can't I do it? And they've started using it. So it's not that the things are, which is what I said in the beginning, कि चीजें बदल रही हैं, but वो बदलाव बहुत, और वो बदलाव बहुत जल्द तेजी से हो रहा है, नजर आना शुरू हो जाएगा हमको another 1 साल के अंदर. And it is being driven only by one thing. Increasingly, platforms like Google or Amazon or maybe, even Apple, they are becoming more relevant than the, other players in this. They are becoming, where so you can drive everything through them. You can go out, place your keyword searches, link it back into your purchases and sales, and, you're sorted for the day. I think that is what is changing. That's my thinking.
I also feel.
Yeah.
Shubho.
I was just going to add to what Amit said. And I would say, not because I work in the government, but I've seen that the government is becoming increasingly very, very proactive in using technology to bridge the language divide. For example, there's this particular I don't know, scheme or program, whatever you call it, Ek Bharat Shresh Bharat. So we have 30, 40 languages, even more if you count dialects, etc. So why should someone from Gujarat not be able to understand someone from Bengal or Kerala? Okay, using technology in real time, right? So you have all these apps, I'm sure, for the last 5 years, 10 years, the instant language translate kind of apps, which are now using AI and machine learning, which wasn't there earlier, but in the last year or two, they're using this to give you instant translations. So someone in Gujarat who's suddenly landed up in Tripura and is looking for a restaurant which serves veg food can instantly speak through a, AI powered something. So there's a lot of research happening out there. And I'm sure in the next 6 months to 2 years, we'll be seeing a lot of, new apps, it's a technology, which are going to bridge this language divide. I'm very, very optimistic about this, sir.
But at the same time, I also see a lot of failures which happen. Like when we are sitting right now on 1 year of COVID lockdown. And a lot of communication could have passed to the people who are on road, who are trying to reach out to their villages, traveling there. We have a beautiful documentary on Prime Video, I guess, regarding that. And like I'll give you an example. One of the villages, Sarpanch or Mukhia, whatever, village head, what she did was she made an immediate survey of her area, asked every household, tell us who is from your house staying somewhere else and give me their phone number. They called up that guy saying, stay put, don't travel. You need money, we send it from here. And they managed somebody locally there to help them. So the money will reach from there, and told them, you don't worry about people back home. We are taking care of them also. So it was a technology base where people would talk to each other, human face. Sometimes we forget that as Indians, we hate to talk to machines. Press 1, press 2, press 3. It's not in our science. We want to talk to somebody. We want somebody to hear us, give us suggestions, tell us what to do. Again, and using these kind of techniques into our brand communication, into our something which we said. When we started using folk as medium, long back, we started using folk. But then extended form of folk in terms of videos, in terms of festivals based on videos, vernacular festivals, they don't get supported, which surprises me. Like I recently got an invite to judge a small, I don't know, it's a small club from West Bengal, which is saying that we have a competition of about developmental stories to be taken on video. So it's basically a mobile film competition, which is obviously in their own language. So they wanted me to judge it. So why can't these small avenues be branded? And then make it into a property. You got to make things into property, whether it is voice, video, vernacular, however, making them into property. Are we dying of ideas, or people are not scared? Jankana, what do you think? People are scared of taking and making these properties?
Sir, I would again say, no one got the time to set the rules right for rural, for digital in rural, and if you say technically for digital ke liye to time hi nahi mila. So the evolution has happened year on year. Coming back to the question, I think yes, it is a little bit of apprehension from the client's end that we face. The quality is an issue. There are major brand guidelines that we have to follow and we have to support. With digital also, what comes in is if you can get viral, great. But if you get negatively viral, then it becomes a problem. So the risk, we can take a risk anytime, but we have to be very careful and we have to take those calculated risks and then move forward is what I think. And I think that is how the brands are also viewing, when a brief comes, the briefs are very specific. I mean, they would want to just cater to a certain set of people, probably with the smartphones, and they don't know much about the consumption behavior. They think that what used to work 10 years back, ek SMS chala jayega, but now things have changed. It's much more than that. It is just not SMSs and just not OBDs, things have changed, and digital has become pretty widespread. But I think it's going to take its own time, and like Shubho said, 1 year and you will see the change. And Amit also said that in 1 year or two, you will definitely see the change. I think that is absolutely true. We are seeing that change coming in from clients also. It's just that we need to, put a little bit of more effort in understanding our consumer better, which I think we take a lot of pain in urban, but when talking about rural, I think clients hesitate a little to understand the psychology of this particular consumer.
I agree with what you're saying, but my problem is more. I'll use a very bad logic, but it's like if I have STD and if I don't tell, how do you cure me? So if these guys have apprehension, they think that is where RMAI and institutes like us come from. No? Then we can get all the brains around the country, put them into a well and say, okay, this man has this problem. He has this fear. Do we have examples? Can we dig it out? Can we hold a workshop? Can we do something new? So we are not even finding those questions. That's the reason we started this webinar series from RMAI. For our clients also, for our participating agencies also, for people into the creative field also. Like I got a call, Shubho, this will interest you, that I see a lot of rural brands using Instagram. Do you have a standard operating process as to how to make an artwork on Instagram, for an Instagram, for rural brands? It was basically, because what right now they're doing is they're making a poster and reducing the size and putting it there, and what you need is only 2-3 words or a good, nice visual. So do we have, so I don't even know if agencies want to have a workshop like that, because there are people who are working in that, and we can always learn. Like nobody knew rural advertising. So we borrowed some from mainline advertising, we borrowed some from social media. We borrowed from some from developmental countries, put them together and put some kind of a space. So, Amit, what is your take? I mean, are people even thirsty or even asking for information?
Yes, they are.
They are.
Yes,
Oh,
they
good.
are. Yes, they are.
Give us some thoughts.
Yes, they are. I mean, so if you look at, so there are brands who are, so as I said earlier, they are looking at, you know, solutions which can work across medias. In fact, one of the big things in the launch or relaunch or maybe a new conversation being driven by a brand today is how will it work in on a social media? What is the conversation I'm going to do on social media? And increasingly, you know, brands are also realizing for a social media, I don't have to think of a of a of a film which is going to be good 30 seconder. I mean, the life of a social media or the post on a social media is few seconds. You see, you read up and you move on, and that's the end of it, right? You don't want to go back to it again. And increasingly, brands are also realizing it. They know that when you talk about social media, you need to probably think of a 7 seconder or maybe 10 seconder at the outside. I mean, there was a wonderful initiative which we did along for Facebook. It was Thumb Stoppers. You would have seen, you know, those videos. They were short videos, storytelling in a very you know limited time of 7 or 10 seconds. So similar formats are being experimented today by brands where they know that I cannot do a complete storytelling, but I need to have a conversation going with my you know customer, uh, and for that requires a simpler format, not very tricky. You don't need a big production houses for that. You can do it with smaller setups, and you know you can easily, you know, the whole idea really is while the execution may be simpler, the idea still remains. Creative thinking still remains. You know, whatever is it has been my key proposition and how I want it to work and how I want it to be decoded by different segments still remains. In fact, you have far more greater opportunity to make things, you know, faster and many more. So not one video. You need to think of at least 15, 20 videos, and not just videos. There are many different formats that happen on Instagram, you know, and we can talk about it separately, which actually are being seen by brand as key to, you know, participate. So they look at a lot of engagement, which is what I said earlier also. They want to drive engagement. So they will create a filter and they will want, you know, their customer or their consumer to try out that filter. Very recently, a very well-known brand, you know, created an interesting filter where you can do a karaoke on your Instagram, you know, and you can create your own video, and then, you know, not only put it up on Instagram but also share it through whatever formats, download it and send it out to your friends, ask them or invite them over. So things are happening, and but again, as I said earlier, these are all limited to platforms. And these, why limited to platforms? Because they know they are safe platforms. There is a brand safety regulations which come in, and then they know, okay, brands will not get compromised, and you know there are no other issues that we are, you know, getting into. There are a lot of these regulations which today are there from a digital point of view, which you need to adhere to. And most of these brands being, a lot of them being MNCs, so they need to adhere to international global norms also when they do their communication. So yes, so that's where it is. So it's more from certain guideline point of view they are doing it, and which is why I said it will change and it is going to change. You will see those changes happening. But if the question is, as you said earlier as well, and you're right, you still don't see, you know, those, you know, local opportunities being tapped into. You still don't see those things that which can happen locally to be, you know, picked up. Now, I think some brands have tried it. Some, you know, beverage brands have tried it in the past, and they've tried it really well. They have used it well. And there are many, but there are many more things that one can do, which still haven't been done, which I think will change with the passage of time.
Shubho, are there
I have one point to add over here. Yeah. So we're working with one client. Okay, this client has an app that is for farmers. Okay. Now the beauty of the app is that the farmer can scan the crop, and he can understand what the problem within his crop is, and what kind of nutrition or what kind of खाद वाद कौन सी क्रॉप में उसको अपने डालनी है, किसकी कमी है, कौन सा न्यूट्रिएंट ज्यादा है, कम है, सनलाइट मिली है नहीं मिली है. So the the solution that we proposed to these to our client was that let's not go with some big name, like let's not take a big brand ambassador. However, what we can do is we can tap into, this is to answer your question, sir, that you said that these local opportunities are not getting encashed. We are very proud to say we are already working with 200 farmers pan India who are farmer influencers, and and there is no shosha. Trust me, there is no shosha. It is his camera, it is his script, and we just tell him that, dude, this is the product, try it, you like it, give your review, you don't like it, let us know, that's fine. So I think we are also, I think this is where the agency's role comes into play, where we suggest the clients an alternate route. So I think this this problem will be solved pretty soon, and we are definitely encashing the local these local opportunities that are present. Similarly,
Someone,
for masons,
someone has asked this question: do we need faces, or locals will do? Actually,
local,
locals will do it. Only
vocal for
locals will do.
local, vocal for local. Yes,
Yeah, only
absolutely.
locals will do.
Yes,
Nothing
only
else will
locals
do.
will do. Absolutely. Yeah.
Shubho, are there numbers? Are there numbers to prove that these things are working? Or like moment people, one of the best things which clients will ask you is, how will I know how much did I reach? I keep telling them effective reach, even if it is one, it is good. You can depend on all the things like what we do in word of mouth, day after recall, week after recall, month after recall. There are several ways of measuring a reach. Not only the heads, that how many heads you can reach lakhs of people and still not convert them. So
I'll
are
take
there newer forms of tell me.
I'll take
Newer
that.
forms of research happening?
I'll take that. Yeah. So the beauty about digital is that it is all accountable. So it is everything. I mean, everything that we are doing on digital, we get the feedback is very much there. It's all in front of your eyes. You know how many viewers are engaging with you with the question and answer. You know how many people are directly interacting with you. And digital is accountable, is what I will say. And we have different methods of getting our results in place. So there are algorithms, there are analysis, there are too many. So digital is also backed by a very strong digital.
I was very keen to, I mean, when Raj asked the question, I was keen to hear what Jankana would respond with. And, I like her answers. I really sat up when you mentioned farmer influencers. I think, that is where it's at, that's where it's going, right? The other thing, I want to bring to the table is it's not that traditional means of advertising, and I know Rajji talks a lot about wall paintings and so on his Facebook posts, etc. So it's not that traditional communication has gone away and it's been replaced by digital, not at all. In a country like India, it is always integrated in a special way, far special, and we have our own unique way of doing it. It's not like, other countries or other geographies. So, radio is not going to go away. I mean, the government's most popular program, Man Ki Baat, is a radio program, right? And digital supports it, right? I mean, you have all kinds of, campaigns and programs. So very few are purely digital, unless it's some offer by Swiggy or something, in the next 3 years. So digital has this immediacy which other mediums can't really catch. Maybe FM a little bit, I'm not sure. So, nothing is going to go away, but, it's going to get deeper and deeper integrated. How do you integrate digital with, something like radio, I mean, and talking about measurability does not happen after, it happens before. When you set up the systems to measure, a lot of people jump into digital without figuring out how they're going to measure success or, metrics, etc. And that's a mistake I have also repeatedly made, right? But now I think all of us are smarter and we set up measurement, metrics, things, especially in integrated, before we get into executing. So I think I agree with Jankana, which is, when you bring in the digital source into some integrated campaign, you measure better, more effectively, and you end up, getting more bang for your buck.
Yeah, and just to add to what Shubho and Jankana mentioned earlier, I mean, you can look at the effectiveness of digital. I mean, we just did a small program. It's not really small; it's a national program. We did it with the local influencers, and that also answers one of the questions that somebody was asking in the Q&A and chat as well. That is it local versus celebrities? So we picked up these local influencers who kind of created a content at their end. They were doing reviews of the product, and then they were answering questions from the locals only around their own community. We went as below as 50,000, 20,000 kind of a population towns and picked up locals who were popular on Instagram or a Facebook for that matter. And and the effectiveness was evaluated basis not just about how many influencers got roped in, but how many of their followers started engaging with the brand. We could even track from what geography, what marketplace are they coming in, what is the kind of queries are coming in. So if they were in a far more remote areas of Rajasthan or Gujarat, they had a different kind of issues with the product versus somebody who was staying in Maharashtra or for that matter even in Bihar. So digital helps you get address that particular issue, which is of effectiveness, and also knowing whether the program is effective, and also from point of view of reach, and what are the kind of local issues which I need to pick up, what are the local problems that I need to tackle. I mean, today we are talking about solutions even in traditional wall paintings. We are coming up with solutions wherein I can talk to I can with the help of technology, I can talk to the local influencer 24/7 and pick up my issue or a problem which I have, and reach out to him. All thanks to driven by the digital advertising, or for that matter digital communication.
Yeah, I know you all three are buffs of digital, but I keep pushing it back to ground, for a lot of interaction, because coming from rural, we still want that touch. We have to have that touch, human touch. Now, I'll tell you that lots of our universities, our agriculture universities, are doing online programs, online training programs, but we still have a program which goes on ground to do it. We are talking about vernacular. We all know primary education, which is in pitch in our country, can be improved by using vernacular. Why brands don't come in? Take up. There are platforms available offline. Platforms available. Like if I say, okay, first aid is my problem. A brand says first aid is my problem. I will use vernacular. I will use videos. I will use digital. I'll use this. But first aid in the village is my problem. Primary education is my problem. We have so many. Initial agriculture is my problem. Increasing productivity in rural is my problem. So why don't they come out and own one of these things and then use these proven techniques of voice, vernacular, or video, and then we make a much better living for, Ogilvy has this thought that everybody has been assigned to do something great. We all have come onto this earth with a purpose. And if we have a purpose of what they call is a brand essence, if we have a purpose, then we can combine that purpose for a better living, for a better life. And using these tools, if we can manage that, I mean, digital, non-digital, to me, they are just medium. You can do things even on off ground, on ground radio. I mean, one man comes and says, I will give my talk on radio, Man Ki Baat. And now every television wala is also patching him.
Yes.
Because people are listening to him. So people don't have. Imagine, we've killed radio. In the country which used to swear by radio. I mean, people used to know Amin Sayani, uh, Ceylon radio. We've killed. Today we don't even know what radio is all about, or what kinds of programs are coming. Why are these brands not rebuilding them? Why are we not coming out and saying, okay, now Vinaka Geet Mala will be known by this name and this is how it will happen? Why are we not reviving these things? Why we are not putting monies behind that? So that human touch, the voices you want to hear, the songs you want to hear, and then we use these kind of things. Questions? Any? I don't know. I can see some. There are some questions about how do you convince brands. See, you have to be learning. I was telling somebody in one of my classes a couple of days back we have huge tractor accounts. You have such huge tractor brands, and they sell tractors from 18 HP to 70 HP. At the same time, we have some people who are making very small equipments, 15,000 rupees, 30,000 rupees, at most lakh rupees. And they have identified their consumer as somebody who has less than 1 hectare land, who cannot afford even a bull or a cow, whatever you can say. And they are selling these machines. They are only selling it through those farmer influencer programs on YouTube. There are no showrooms. It is straight away delivered to your door. If there is anything you want to know, they will send you a video how to fix it. If there is a part problem, they courier it to you. So their entire life is on ground, off ground. If people who are from non-organized sector, if they have come to use this, my worries is where the biggies are sitting. Why are they not setting examples in doing it? Uh, Last thoughts, all of you can take your time and then we'll fold it because the questions will be a lot many. And we've been doing this buck for an hour. Hopefully it's going good. So starting again from you, Jankana, last thoughts on what voice, vernacular, and video has got it for store for futures to come.
Uh, Again, for me, it's vernacular, voice, and video. Exactly in that, this segment. Voice is, for me, vernacular is going to go very big. Voice is great. I just one, I was still stuck to that last thing that you said, that why are brands not going local? Why are brands not thinking? I think, sir, it's digital moved too fast, it just moved too fast and it evolved too fast. But as humans, we take a little time, So I think, brands need to kind of come back and think about that human touch again. And maybe I think once that is back, we will kind of go back to our these mediums where we can again reach out through radios and these voice platforms. Also it has become a little bit easier because now we have smartphones. तो farmer को अगर गाना सुनना है तो वो तो Google या Alexa को वैसे ही बोल देता है, मुझे गाना सुना दो, मेरे को जोक सुना दो, मेरा मूड ठीक नहीं है. Very funny thing, people in India, what they ask Alexa is, Alexa, I love you. So Alexa says back, I love you too. So brands are addressing that human touch also now, very scary. It is scary, but it is interesting. So like Alexa coming onto voice becomes a very big platform. So yeah, I think the human side of the brand still needs to be, we have to touch it a little. And I solely take the responsibility of, from the new generation, I take solely the responsibility of doing something really good in rural. And from Natter side, you will see some really interesting offerings coming out. And yeah, thank you very much for having me here.
Amit, last remarks.
I want to agree with what you said. The human touch can't replace whatever technology delivers or does. And though whatever one may say, it's required or not required, and so on and so forth. And that's the reality of the life. Having said that, in my understanding, with whatever we have seen and whatever we have seen happening around us, voice is going to deliver a lot of solutions for us going forward. I mean, many of us may be aware, but interestingly, voice is a biometric device for your account safety today in rural areas, which is interesting, which goes to show, where and how the technology is moving. We have a challenging environment. We have a challenging, environment because of the fact that we have, many dialects, and a statement said in one dialect or in one tone can mean one thing, while it's said in a different tone in the same way it can mean another thing. These are the challenges which the technology will need to address or answer as we go forward. But at the end of the day, a human touch or human experience which is multiplied or made viral on a digital platform is how one should look at, look at a physical activation and look at a digital presence, what we call as a fidgetation and so on and so forth. There are many names for it, and they're floating. But that's really how one should, take up going to rural or talking to the rural, masses for that matter. technology only gives you a scale, which is how it should be used, and not to
Convenience,
replace.
convenience
Correct.
and
Enabler.
Correct.
Enabler.
Correct.
Just an enabler. Yeah.
So yeah, and looking
Shubho?
forward to a better times going forward. Yeah.
Yes.
Shubho,
Yes.
how does it look? You got to unmute.
Yeah, sorry.
Ah.
I'm saying it looks like we're in the middle of very exciting times, and especially someone my age, who's been through the entire traditional brand building kind of thing, standing on the cusp, not exactly the cusp, has been around for 5 years or 10 years of the digital revolution. So this is a very interesting time for me personally, and I hope to be around to see bright people like Amit, Jankana, do interesting stuff. But I just want to leave you with one thought. When I joined advertising sometime in the middle 90s, there were these people walking around in ad agencies, the brand custodian, right? So these were some very high level thinking kind of people who decided how a brand should talk, or what the tone of the voice should be, and so on, what color or what usage. So these were like gods. They were like demigods, treated like demigods in advertising. Today, it's all changed. Nobody cares, right? Today, a brand is supposed to solve problems, real problems, and very fast. So there's a problem in whatever, Assam, something, education or whatever the thing is. Your brand has to solve that problem. And using, like my colleague was mentioning, farmer influencers, maybe that's a fast way of solving it than worrying about what color should this thing be or what tone of voice should it be. That day is gone, because of digital. Good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, but that's the way we live in, right? And I'm very happy to be bang in the center of things, and I'm very happy to announce that I don't know a lot of what I should, and hopefully I will in the years to come, in digital, that is. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you, Jankana, Amit, Shubho.
Thank you.
You all have tried
Thanks.
to bring out some questions. I hope people who are listening, they put more questions to us. We have more conferences around
Absolutely.
digital, around uses of this, how we can do something new. Can we pilot some things? Can we showcase? Because unless you showcase, we are the people who will, unless you show it to them, they won't believe.
Believe
You
it.
know, हमें आदत है आइसक्रीम का दुकान पे बोलेंगे पहले चखा के दिखाओ ठीक है कि नहीं थोड़ा मिठाई खाना है. So we have to find out all this, and we'll come back with our new series of webinars. Be in touch with RMAI, get some more members, get some exciting people to talk around, so that we the oldies can rest now and give the mantle to all the youngsters. Nice talking to you all, and we'll be back soon. Keep in
Thank
touch,
you.
and happy Holi to all of you. Thank you.
Happy Holi.
Happy
Thank
Holi
you.
to all.
Holi to
Thank you,
everybody.
Shubho sir. Thank you, Amit.
Thank
Thank
you.
Very, very,
Thank
very.
you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.